Hey guys, you can now support this show and make your life 50% better by going to patreon.com/The System Is Down and signing up for the Downers Club, where you're going to get access to a plethora of wild, crazy, and often offensive bonus audio and video episodes of the show on a weekly basis. For more information, just go to patreon.com/The System Is Down. The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System Is Down.
Well. Welcome back. How's it going? How's your Monday treating you? I hope it's serving you well. I hope this episode makes it that much better on your commute to or from work, or maybe you're listening to this at work. Either way. Welcome to Monday, and welcome to the show. I assume it's a beautiful day out. I have no way of knowing, but let's say that it is. Welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. The System Is Down, the place where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics, the things that your parents don't like when you bring them up, the things that trigger people and make people scream and shout on Facebook and call people names, things like conspiracies, politics, and religion. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for listening, and go find the person who invited you to the show and just give them a big kiss on the mouth and a slap on the rear from me, because I appreciate them inviting you, and give them another one from you because you're going to enjoy it here. I think you're going to like it. You're going to like what you hear. I don't just think, I guarantee you are, or your money back. So today's episode is my conversation with the great Ole Dammegard. Ole has been on the show before, back in, I think, episode 26, when we talked about the Las Vegas shooting and some of the false flag evidence around that. So you can go check out that if you want to. But Ole is such a great guest. I love having him on. I invited him back on to talk about the JFK assassination and, the conspiracy side of that, because Ole is the expert when it comes to that. Ole is the go-to guy for false flags and for the JFK stuff. However, Ole requested that, maybe we talk about some of the stuff that he's digging into right now, because he's been working hard to expose some of the false flag clues and some of the mind control techniques that he suspects are going on in these false flags and things to watch for. So I was more than happy to talk about that, because anything that Ole's interested in, it's probably definitely worth talking about. So we talked about that on this one. And we are planning to do another episode covering the JFK assassination sometime in November, so we can put it out around the time of the 55-year anniversary of the JFK assassination. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that, go subscribe to the show on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you are listening to this on. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode, because they're all great. They're all great. If you've been here long enough, you're well aware of that. Not bragging or anything, it's just a fact. But anyway, we're going to get into my conversation with Ole here in just about 45 seconds to a minute, somewhere around there. But before we do, I got to do my due diligence and give shout-outs to our sponsor, the 29 Toes podcast. The 29 Toes podcast is basically the complete opposite of this show. It's not as structured. It's basically three guys sitting around drinking beers, chatting about guy stuff and what's happening in the world, covering more of the entertainment side of things, like movies and video games and music and stuff like that. So go check them out. It's a good, chill, fun time that you can veg out on, and that can help you through your Monday as well. Their shows come out on every Sunday. So between them and this and the AntiNews tonight on The System Is Down, you've got your Monday covered. You've got a good chunk of your workday covered, where you can just shut your brain down and listen to some good entertainment. So check out the 29 Toes podcast wherever podcasts are sold. And the reason why they are a sponsor is because one of their members is signed up at the highest level that you can on the Downers Club. The Downers Club is our patron program where you can support the show financially for as little as $5 a month, and in return you get a bunch of bonus audio and video content every single week. Just hours and hours of backlog of content that we've done, where you can entertain yourself for weeks and maybe months. So yeah, and that's what keeps the show going. That's what keeps these lights on. These beautiful studio lights that I was able to purchase with Downers Club money. I can tell you where all your money goes. It goes into making the show look and sound better for you, a better experience for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that my video is crystal clear, and that's because your money afforded me the equipment to make that happen, and it's the reason why we are now doing the AntiNews as a live broadcast every Monday night, because we can afford the equipment to make that happen. So, if you want to support the show, if you want to get a bunch of bonus audio and video content, go to patreon.com/The System Is Down and sign up for as little as a cup of coffee a month. And you will also get to hear my extended interview with Ole that will come out later today. So, let's jump into this. That's enough of the ads. That's enough of the rambling. Let's get into some more structured and interesting rambling with my conversation with the great Ole Dammegard, where we talk about mind control techniques and things to watch for. So all that said, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get weird. My guest today is truth seeker, code breaker, podcaster, author, public speaker, educator, and one of my favorite guests that I've had on the show, returning Ole Dammegard. Ole, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing super good, thank you. And I would love if you don't use the word sir.
How are you doing today, Ole?
dude, bro, all of the sir. This sir thing, it really makes a gap between people. I think it's very polite. I really understand the politeness in it, but I also feel it makes a distance between people.
Sure.
And it's a military term as well. And my dad was a military guy, so I'm not too fond of that one.
I totally understand, and I will keep that in mind and do my best. But so,
dude is fine, bro is fine, man, it's fine.
Awesome. Well, Ole, we had you on the show. I don't remember the episode, but it was earlier on in the days of The System Is Down, and we talked about the Las Vegas shooting, and everybody loved that episode. And I've had multiple people ask me when we're going to get you back on, because it's all fascinating stuff that you've got going on in your life. And I reached out to you because I know that you're very learned in the JFK assassination and stuff behind that, and I intended to talk about that, but I hear that you've got some other fascinating things that you're digging into that I would like to put out there. And the 55-year anniversary of the JFK assassination is coming up in November, so maybe we'll have you back on for that. But Ole, what do you have going on right now in your life? How have things been?
It's very intense. Like every time they do a false flag, people contact me from all over the world, and so I get buried in these operations all the time. But at the same time, it's really interesting because it's also getting much more personal, because more and more families of accused shooters and patsies and so on are contacting me asking for assistance. And it's a tricky one, because I'm like a one-man band with a little team around me who helps me with technical stuff, which is wonderful and so on. But when it gets into real cases, it's not so easy. Yet again, from my point of view, due to that I've been some 35 years down this road, it gets quite clear after a while how these operations are carried out. This is also why I've done between 500 and 1,000 interviews where I focused on many of the templates that are being used in assassinations, alleged terror attacks, false flag operations, and mass shootings, which they're very similar, these templates. Mm-hmm. And if we haven't gone through them, maybe we could do a show one of these days where I just go through the different ingredients, because once you start seeing how they're carried out, anyone with an open mind will start seeing them for themselves. And this is where I feel that that maybe I can help and assist in a better understanding of what's going on, because it's going on an incredible velocity, and it's just being amplified all the time, even though the qualities of these operations are going right down the drain.
Really?
There's such crap operations now, so it's which is, I think, is a good sign, because I believe that the people behind these operations are freaking out, because so many are starting to see how they're done. And once you see how simple they are, in the setup, it's like a no-brainer many times.
Okay. Can you give us some examples of some of the stuff that's been going on that you think are false flags and the science for it?
Oh God! I mean, there are so many. I had no idea when I got into this area. I truly believed in a lot of the things that I read, but now, since 2013, 14, something like that, I mean, they're countless. There's so many of them, and so few real events. I mean, and I've been going on location to more or less every single place in Europe where these alleged attacks have happened with an undercover camera. I've sometimes been there while the operation is still ongoing. I've been in the US. I've been on many locations where these assassinations have been carried out. And so I've been really trying to do my homework. I've been trying not to jump to conclusion, but look at these things with an open mind, because the only thing that matters is what actually happened, who did it, who benefits, and what are they up to now. Because I'm not here to prove a point, I'm trying to find out what the hell is going down here. And so when I started, I had no idea that so many of these things were connected, but then over the years it's just like unreal, and it's come to a point where all roads lead to Rome, sort of. It's like the same octopus, but where you more or less, whatever area you dig into, it's like different tentacles of the same octopus, and this octopus leads you into the New World Order agenda, where the forces behind this agenda and the individuals involved in it, they have a very, very brutal way of dealing with problems. And in this case, assassination is one of the ultimate solutions when they terminate people, because they try to destroy them. It's quite messy with assassinations, so they try to avoid that. And so they try to destroy your reputation or pump up they go in through a back door into your computer, just pumps it up with pedophile images or whatever, so that when someone by coincidence happened to open up your office computer, there's like 15,000 photos of pedophile photos. This is a classic one to destroy someone. Or they transfer like $3 million into your account without you knowing it. And then, I mean, what can you do? So they leak it to the press. This guy has taken bribes, so he's infiltrated in whatever. Just check out his bank account. There's $3 million. I go like, I have no idea where they came from, and down I go. The reputation is destroyed. So there are many, many easy ways to destroy someone. Then the assassinations themselves, they're very afraid of blowback. So they try to, like hire people on a lower level, like gang members, or they arrange accidents, traffic accidents, suicides, and so on. And then the ultimate one is an elimination through assassination, a termination. But that, like I say, it's the last one, because suddenly it gets tricky, because then you need the whole thing with a patsy, or you need you need to involve pros as well, which is the world of assassins is very small. I have that from people in the world of assassins. They say that when you come up to a certain level of real pros, it's a small world. And so once you're in that world, once you start identifying these ones, you will just see the numbers that they have on the list of the takeouts. It's just incredible. So the ingredients, you wanted some of the ingredients?
Sure.
Okay. It's similar for alleged terror attacks, mass shootings, and assassinations. There are many similarities. One of the ones that is more or less always there is the patsy. The patsy is the one taking the fall for the whole thing. And the key element is that he's alone and crazy, or on medication, or a fanatic. The reason why they want him as alone is then by law there's no conspiracy. conspiracy actually means just to breathe together, but it's come to a point where in legal language, a conspiracy is when two or more people have, with criminal intention, are planning or doing stuff together.
Right.
But so they want him alone, because then if he dies on location or is suicided, then it's case closed right away. Well, he was alone and he died, case closed. And the reason why they want him crazy is because then there's no need for a motive.
Right.
He was just crazy. He went up and boom, he shot him. He blew up that thing because, I don't know, he had bad intestine problems or gas or whatever, and he had a bad day. So he decided to blow up that building. The official stories are often really poor.
Right.
So as soon as you hear about a lone crazy individual, let there be a red flag going. That's a key one. Then when it comes to mass shootings or terror attacks, every time I say mass shootings and terror attacks, please add the word alleged before. One of the key elements there is the drill. The drill is always there before it goes down, but it could be up to several months before, and it could be in a location nearby. But within like driving distance, like 2-3 hours. But most of the time it's on location. And this is a wonderful, wonderful blessing for the rest of us, because they need to tell us on media, on the local newspapers, that tomorrow we're going to have a anti-mass shooting drill in your blah, 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 and for your protection.
So watch out, because something's coming.
That is the key, that is the wonderful thing, because that is a key indicator that something might go down. It's not every single time that a drill leads to a false flag operation, but every time there is a false flag operation in these settings, the drill has been there beforehand. So the reason for the drill is because they need to close off the area where this goes down. They need normal people like you and me to bugger off and stay away, because they do not want anyone to see what's going on. It's the same with all kinds of criminality. They can only work in the dark, in the shadows, where they cannot be seen. But here they have to step out of their comfort zone, and so they arrange for a drill. So the drill is also there to get vehicles in positions, cameras in positions, crisis actors in positions, explosives, smoke bombs, also the marketing agencies that are involved in these things with product placement and logos, the whole thing that follows part of the PSYOP, because it's most of the time it's a multiple, or sort of like a how do you say, more than a one-step rocket. There's several things going on at the same time. So they have these marketing agencies also, where with the product placement, to make sure that their product is right in the center of images. Like half of the image of news footage is like the McDonald's sign, or they call it the Waffle House shooting, the McDonald's shooting, the Starbucks shooting, because it's like, that is how marketing works. You just repeat the word, boom, boom, boom. And especially if you go emotional, this is why you have insurance companies. Granddad is walking his old dog, old gaffer or whatever it's called, with his grandchildren, and there's a sunset in the background, and he's sitting patting the dog, planning for his own funeral. And in come the security, the insurance of your dreams, how to prepare for your next step. They go emotional. You have the violence in the background, these type of things. And here as well, when it comes to product placement, that is the perfect option. You scare the living bejesus out of people, so they go like this, and emotional. Oh my God, women, children, are you kidding me? Teenagers shot again. You're totally open emotionally. You don't think at all, and boom, Coca-Cola. Or you got like McDonald's. But it's in the background, but it's not subtle. I tell you, once you start looking at it, check it out. For instance, you had the 7/7 bombings. There were 3 subway stations and a bus maybe it was 4 subway stations, and a bus blown up in London, in the middle of London. And the drill, there was an ongoing drill with 1,500 people involved, ongoing, that went live from being a drill with the exact scenario, and then right in the middle, it went live. The drill. And it was to such an extent that even police officers that were part of the drill, who thought that it was a drill, when one of the subway stations blew up, they were standing outside, people were coming out, there was smoke everywhere, blood, and people were crawling out, and the police was like, oh my God, it's so realistic. It almost looks real.
Right.
So they didn't even help the people because they thought it was a drill.
Right.
And you got Peter Power from one of these security companies that totally in the whole thing. They even had several months before this. There's this program on BBC, very very top level program called Panorama, and they were going through the whole thing as a possible future scenario. All of it right in your face, down to the details. And then boom, it went live later on with the same key players involved.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no subtle things here. It's in your face. But anyway, when the bomb blew up, the bus, when it said that blew up, it blew up right in front of the Tavistock Institute, which is key when it comes to how to manipulate the masses and our psychology, how to direct it and play around with it. It has been around for many, many, many years, and it's really, really focused in twisting our minds in whatever direction they want. Well, it was right outside their office, and also right outside or underneath the office of ICTS, an Israeli company that is responsible for all the CCTV cameras for more or less all the international airports, bus stations, train stations, subway stations, and so on, where these alleged terror attacks have happened. Same company, again and again and again. So it was right outside. I mean, I'm talking like 20 feet from their office, outside the window. This bus blew up, bomb. And what was on the side of the bus? On one side, it said "Terror, Pure Brilliance." It was like for a film movie ad. On the other side, there was this massive banner of an explosion, no text, and a Coca-Cola bottle right in the middle of it.
Wow.
Meaning that millions of people would look at these images, not seeing what was going on, but your subconscious is aware and just sucks it in. Oh my God, I'm feeling thirsty. Let's go for a Coca-Cola. That's how they do it. Product placement. Also look if there's, for instance, blood on the floor, like the Charlie Hebdo shooting, there was blood on the floor. Your eyes go there, and then right next to it, there's a Puma bag. That's how they do it. They just suck you in, and boom, there it is.
Now, what's the reason for this? I mean, are you saying that that some of these companies have something to do with this, and they're allowing or they're taking advantage of the opportunity to put their product out there, or what would be the reasoning for putting the product placement in there?
Totally in on it. Totally being part of financing it. It's a marketing process. These staged events are there to sell fear. That's the whole idea with so many of these shootings. It's fear they pump out through global media. So that is the product. And then you have, because it's through the fear that they can get us to accept their solution. It's the old Roman template, problem, reaction, solution. They, the ones in power, secretly create a problem, a bomb, a mass shooting, a virus scare, a financial crash, something like that. They secretly create it to get the reaction from us, an emotional just, oh my God, we need protection. And so they want us to go emotional. That's why they hit women and children, teenagers in high schools. No old guys, no tractors, no cows out in the countryside. There are never any of these hits or hospices. No, it's daycare centers, sometimes nuns. And if there are men involved, they're like a vicar or preacher, especially in Catholic churches and so on. Emotional. That's the one they want. So, and then this emotional reaction to get us to turn towards the ones we think are there to protect us, not understanding that it's actually them who are doing it to us, saying, please, please, help us. And they, who created the whole mess, will then say, well, the only way we can help you in this horrible situation, with this horrible problem is, and boom, in comes the solution. And the solution every single time is the same. It's more and more militarized power, more and more robocops, the police, driving around in tanks soon with all kinds of high science fiction type of weaponry against normal people. CCTVs, body scanners, backscatters, satellite surveillance, you name it. I mean, if you're asking, please, we need help for homeless people, we can't feed them, the old folks are dying, in their diapers, schools really needs, it's very sorry, no money for that. If you want another 4,000 CCTV cameras or satellite surveillance systems or iris scanner recognition, facial, whatever type of crap that will put you in this digital prison, money is there. Here you go. Let's have 8 of them and 4 of them and whatever, just hand it out. Yeah. Because it's all staged. This is the thing. It's staged and aimed at pushing us into this global prison. That's with smart cities, 5G, and a world army there not to protect us, to control us, one digital currency to keep us, once the cash is gone, we are screwed. The one controlling the credit card or the chip in your hand is the one controlling you.
Right.
And so, anyway, so there's also what they use the drill for also is for rehearsal, because they need to rehearse and make sure everything is working the way it should, that nobody messes up, especially these crisis actors. I mean, they are the worst of the worst. So they really need to retake again and again, and to get the story straight. Because the good actors, all the good actors, are already taken. They're in commercials, they're in movies, they're in theaters. So someone like me would be able to track them down right away. So they have no option but to take these really useless actors and bring them on. And so they try to keep the number to as few as possible for security reason, also to avoid blowback. And this is why we see this recycling of crisis actors. It's getting to a ridiculous point. It's like, oh my God, there she is again. Oh my God, there she. I know you.
I loved you in the Parkland shooting.
I loved you in the Parkland shooting. I mean, like. The mother of Heather Mayer, for instance, the alleged victim in the Charlottesville car attack, which, by the way, was never even hit by the car. She was lying down in the street next to it anyway. And also now her family says that she died from a heart attack. Her mother is the same mother as to one of the victims in Sandy Hook. Okay? The same mother, changed color. We did facial recognition. Oh, it's the dead ringer. That's her. We have another one, Noah Posner, one of the boys in Sandy Hook, 6 years old, that was killed there. Beautiful boy.
Yeah.
Well, he just happened to die 2 years later again in a Peshawar school shooting in Pakistan.
Yeah, I saw that.
Same boy, same photo, same everything. We have one of my favorite, I forgot her name now. I've seen her in 5 or 6 different ones. She even lives in Sandy Hook, and she plays the saxophone. You can rent her for parties. She reads poetry. She was even the host for poetry competition last year. Unfortunately, I couldn't go there because otherwise I would just have, confronted her there and then.
Right.
It's so in your face. The same parent is part of the SWAT team walking around holding the gun upside down. They don't know what they're doing. And so and also you got this duping delight thing going on a lot. Duping delight is a psychological phenomenon, especially by people with a certain mindset, a little to the psychopath part where when they feel that they manipulate you, when they know that they're lying, they can't stop smiling. The body will smile.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have all of these crisis actors or these relatives to victims or whatever that are standing, oh, ISIS chopped the head of my father. And you see that it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. There was intestines everywhere, blood everywhere, and the smile is there.
Mm-hmm.
So one dead giveaway, one method I use is just turn down the volume so I don't get distracted by the words. Watch the face, and it's like, okay, here's another one.
Right.
There's another one. And then, I mean, many times we're looking at people. I mean, I used to be a journalist. I was on crime scenes, accidents. I've seen people in shock. You know, like if something has just happened, there are different ways. My experience is that either they're dead pale and sweaty,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't say a lot. You know, and these are quite dangerous because they can just suddenly fall over and die from a shock because their blood pressure just falls.
Right.
Shock. Or you got somebody that they're just talking totally irrational, just like this, and sometimes about stuff that has nothing to do with it, but they don't make a lot of sense. Some people are just walking up and down like this, you know, shaking, and it's shock. I mean, something traumatic has just happened and has just knocked you out of your socks. You know, it's like massive impact on you emotionally, and maybe you lost a loved one. Here we see these people. Yes, my best friend just got half of his head blown off. I was standing next to him. I feel very sorry. And by the way, I feel hungry, but maybe we can, you know, it's like there's no emotion, there's no connection. Yeah. You have just experienced the worst thing ever, and you're just standing there talking like you had just been down the road, you know, buying a hamburger and taking a photo for Facebook.
Right.
There's another one. When these things happen, I mean, most people have cell phones nowadays with HD quality. Where are all the photos? Where are all the videos? We just have the official crap videos that is also taken during the drill. During the drill, they make sure that very good photographers take HD quality photos, especially in the big operation, so that you have these horrific images of terror, because that is the whole reason for this event to go down, is for these images that they can then spread out so that we go, oh my God, that's absolutely horrible. And in comes the solution. And we will just applaud and say, thank you, bring it on, more tanks in the streets, please. I feel so happy now when you are there putting all of these invisible chains on me. Please bring it on, baby. And that's how the game is played. Mm-hmm. So also you have news footage that is being shot during the drills. And then when it goes live, then it's a mix of the footage from the drill, often with live footage from location. So sometimes for a geek like me, I always check the sky and the shadows, you know, because like if it was taken like 3:00 in the afternoon, right, for instance, shadows are totally different than 10:00 a.m. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes when you put the images next to each other, you will just see the shadows go whoop, 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 and you know, okay, thank you. There's another one. Thank you for that. Or you will see the clouds in the background. There's a massive cloud, and suddenly it's gone, and then it's back again. How come? Right. Because they've split the footage, and they most of the time the photographers are Getty Images, Associated Press, or Reuters, and Reuters and Associated Press are Rothschild owned, and Getty Images, there's a lot of things around that whole thing with the Getty's museum and bizarre stuff that is also connected to the same. So they also do what I call the Catwalk of Terror. There's always someone that walks around among the victims with a cell phone, and somehow they manage to get it so blurry that you can't really see anything. Right. It's incredible how blurry they can make it. because they do not want you to recognize anyone. You will also see it's like civilians sitting next to victims, but most of them with their back towards the camera, and the victims are lying there. You will see they're doing CPR, fantastic. Sometimes two people are doing CPR to the same person, one on the shoulder, another one on the hip. I don't know if you know where the location of the heart is, but
right.
It's not there. I can tell you that one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's even like half bodies, where we saw that in Las Vegas, we saw it in Nice, we saw it at the Bataclan mass shooting, where people are doing CPR. And I identified two of these events where you can even hear the sound of a doll, a CPR doll. And I put the footage next to each other. I've done that on different presentations because you can buy these CPR dolls where you like the Red Cross type thing here.
Yeah.
And the sound from them is like, when you do it, that is not the sound when you do it on a normal person.
I would assume not. No.
No, because if I did it on you, you would not sound
right.
So when that sound is there, that is another dead giveaway that something is going on here. And then when you zoom in these blurry videos, which is very difficult, you suddenly see, oh my God, there's no legs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're back to why on earth would anyone have half a body there, do CPR on it?
Yeah.
Or you have, like in England, at the so-called beheading of Lee Rigby, a soldier in Woolwich, absolute crap operation, where it's said that this guy had his head chopped off. Well, there is a guy there. You can't see his head on or off at all. But also the people standing around, they're totally calm. There's a body without a head next to it. There's one guy with a big cleaver, a meat cleaver, and a big knife in his hands with blood on his hand, and people are walking around him totally normal with their shopping bags on their way home. Is this a normal behavior? You have to look at these things as well. And also I was a an extra on many film sets in the beginning when we moved to Spain. We moved to Spain because I had two friends murdered, and also I was threatened. So I just felt this is getting too creepy. So we left quite quickly, started a new life here in Spain, where we started from absolute scratch, no money, no nothing. And so I was doing everything I could to provide for my family. And one of the ways was that there was this film company, a Scandinavian film company on Mallorca, this little tiny island. And they were looking for people with Scandinavian features, because it was Scandinavian companies and German companies that came down, did commercial movies and stuff. So I was perfect, and I was so keen to get this job. So I was doing everything I could as well to learn as much as possible about the whole film industry, the lighting, the cable, to get a job, because I was desperate.
Right.
So I learned a lot. When you're an extra, you sit in the background. Your job is they put a point where they call them cue markers. They put a sort of like an X on the road here, and they say this is point A, and they put an X over there. That's point B. When we call background action, you start walking from point A to point B. When we say cut, you go back to point A to point B. And the next time we scream background action, you start walking and don't look into the camera. That was my job. I was really good at walking from point A to point B. Yeah. I could chew chewing gum at the same time. But the thing is that the reason they do these things and they have these cue markers, is because of continuity, whatever it's called.
Continuity.
So that continuity, because if they need to cut from different angles or cuts, the beginning is good but the ending is bad, you will have the same person walk from there to there in the background. They can't have you suddenly jump over there.
Right. Yeah.
This is where they cannot control the clouds I'm talking about before, that just suddenly jumps over there. And so the cue markers is another dead giveaway, where you start looking for, if you know what to look for, you will see, for instance, at the Charlie Hebdo, they were running from the terrorists were running from cue marker A to B to C and back to the car. A, B, and so on.
Fascinating. Now, of course,
Can I
go
just
ahead.
say one more? Because there are some important ones. With all of these ones, if it is a false flag, if it is or an assassination, state-sponsored assassination, or the powers behind it, the investigation will be there as part of the crime. This is super important. So this means that when something like this happens, the people that stands up afterwards and say, our nation has been hit by an act of terror, we have to stand together in love and peace and unity, they are part of the crime, okay, most of the time. Also, the investigation that have press conferences, the police, the lawyers, the DAs, whatever, part of the crime. They are part of the crime, and their job is to make sure that nothing of the real truth get out there. Their job is to point at the patsy, point at the official story, and then deal with people like myself, send hit teams or whatever to shut people like myself up. Mm-hmm. That is their job. And then they can sit and smoke and throw dart and have a whiskey and look really busy every time there's a press conference. They're doing absolute zero. Mm-hmm. But that's their job. The job is to make us forget about it. This is also why there's so many of these mass shootings, and they're spread out. There's not two the same day. They spread them out. So it's like one on a Monday, right, then the one on a Thursday in a different state, and then it's down there, and then it's up there, and then it's down there, and then it's to distract us and keep us in constant fear, like boom, 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 right, boom. And so the investigation, part of the crime. The forensic team that goes in after the crime are there to cover and clean the crime scene for any evidence pointing towards what actually happened, and then plant evidence towards the patsy. That's their whole idea with that thing. Then if we, the normal person, or people in the street say like, but this doesn't make any sense. I mean, my God, it's just, it's just fantasies that you're trying to present us. What happens then, if they can't get away with it anymore, they will then put together a commission. It will be the Truth Commission or the Justice Commission, something impressive. Mm-hmm. And this commission is part of the crime. The people in this commission will be, most of them, connected through Freemasonic brotherhoods and networks and stuff like that. They will be the same people that have been on other commissions through the years. They just change positions, just like in a chess game. This guy is the chairman this time, this guy is the chairman next time, and they play around like this. So we get an illusion of, oh, justice is being done. And the reason for this commission is to drag it out for another year. They will spend a whole year putting together like 1,500 A4 pages of documents saying more or less nothing that will bore you to tears. Trust me, because it will say very little about, it will not look into the crime itself. It will look into the investigation. Mm-hmm. And then the report will be, well, the investigation made a mistake here, but we've done a good job. And otherwise than that, everything is fine. So thank you, folks. Good night, and go back to sleep. So also, there would be a standard ingredient in these commissions is that there would be some kind of scandal in the middle of it. So somebody has made a credit fraud. Maybe they bought a bag of Smarties or M&Ms on the credit card that was for the commission, or that's a serious crime. So they have to get rid of that person and then replace it with another one, handpicked from the same Freemasonic network. And so the new one, they will say, well, we're 3 months down the line now, so it will take at least a month or so for us to tell this new person all the things that we have not done. So that will take a lot of time, just postpone the whole thing. Also, they leak out stories to the press, so that in the false stories pointing towards the patsy. Mm-hmm. So in the end, we're like lying in the back of the corner, just give me a break. I can't take it anymore. I don't even want to hear about it. And that's case closed for them. Just let it ebb out, And then if we don't give up with that, They just put another commission there. After the assassination of Olof Palme, the Swedish Prime Minister, we've had four commissions that are looking into the fourth is looking into the third is looking into the second is looking into the first, and all of them are saying, and now people don't care. I mean, I read the book, it's 1,000 pages, so detailed about this assassination. All the people involved, all the photos, names, how it was carried out, multiple shooters, getaway cars. Anyone interested? I don't think so.
Right. Hey, Dan Smots here. I'm taking a second to interrupt myself talking to talk about myself because, I don't get paid a penny for the hours and hours that I put into creating this show for you guys in your greedy little ears, and I've got a family to feed. To make that happen, I run my own media business called Goulash Media. If you have a need in anything from video production to graphic design to audio production and beyond, you can get it all for a painfully fair price at Goulash Media. In video, I do weddings, music videos, commercials, pageants, plays, etc., etc., etc. For design, I do photo editing, album art, logos, branding, business cards, merchandise, you name it. For audio, I do engineering, production, editing, jingles, and, well, podcasts. So if you've got a media need of any kind, or if you'd just like to give a little something back and help keep my children fed, check out all the endless options at my website, goulashmedia.net. That's goulash, Goulash, media.net, where we cater to the little guy with the big vision. Okay. Now, do you, I mean, we covered, in our forum, we covered like the suspicious stuff that was going on around the Parkland shooting and stuff like that. And of course, you get pushback for being insensitive and that type of thing. Do you have concern that you could be wrong and you're being insensitive to somebody who just lost a loved one?
For sure. That's a constant worry, because sometimes they're totally staged events only with crisis actors, especially from the Boston bombing and forward. Some of these events, like the Boston one, not a real victim whatsoever. Sandy Hook, not a real victim whatsoever. But sometimes I feel that there's like a hybrid, what I call a hybrid of a staged event and real victims. Like, for instance, the Las Vegas mass shooting, very, very confusing. Multi-layered, I would say multiple operations going on at the same time, also for the reason of confusion, so that it would point in all different directions. So many times, I haven't been on location, for instance, when these things happen. So every single time I step forward and I say something, I really take a risk of hurting someone.
Right.
But I try to, when I'm in doubt, I try to say I am in doubt. And also my intention, the last thing I want to do is hurt anyone. At the same time, since the official authorities are doing zero, what are we supposed to do? Someone needs to look into this. I would love to have a cold beer and kick back and play music, and instead of having to do this all the time. This is not my job. The police should do this, the military should do this, the authorities, the government, if they were who they say they are. If they were doing what they're supposed to do, there would be nothing for me to do. I would just sit in the background and say, that is fantastic. They're doing a great job. They're so experienced. They're looking for the truth. They're finding the guilty one of the crime. Super duper. Bob's your uncle. Let's celebrate. But now it's so upside down. The whole thing is just hijacked to an extent that I had no idea about when I started out on this strange trip of mine. I don't know what to call it. But I just want to jump back to this hybrid of cases.
Sure.
I've also said every single time I'm talking about these operations, and I've looked into I don't know how many, and I've done like 2-hour interviews on so many of these cases where with images and photos where I've just in great details are just pointing it out that doesn't match up, that doesn't match up, that doesn't match up, that doesn't. So most of the time I'm very rarely criticized because I try to do I am so devoted into doing this kind of geek job for the sake of the people being blamed also. Lots of people are innocent in prison, being rotting away, being blamed for these operations. Sure. Yeah, they're totally innocent people. Most of them are there just because they have a certain weakness mentally, so that they're that they can take the blame. They can be used in MK Ultra operations, hypnosis, and just to take the fall for it. And they're rotting away. It's awful. It's awful. Mm-hmm. But the hybrid, for instance, when the Oslo government building was blown up in Norway, it was the same day as the mass shooting on Utøya. There were on one side of the building, it was a sort of like I think it's about 20 stories high building like this, very narrow, very high, narrow. On one side, there was a whole false flag operation going on. That was where the whole operation was set up, with very similar to the Oklahoma City bombing, but it was not a bomb. It was implosion. It was some kind of weaponry that I'm trying to find out through sources in the CIA I'm working with, trying to see what the hell were they using there, because everything was sucked out. The glass was sucked out instead of blown away from the explosion. It was the total opposite of a normal happening. But like I said, on one side of the building, total crisis actors, totally staged. On the other side, I believe real victims that were just unlucky. They were walking down the street when this whole thing went live. And the drill ended 8 minutes before the whole thing happened. A drill with the same scenario. So that's how they play it.
Yeah, what's their, I mean, you would think that they would be, that they wouldn't do it quite that close. I mean, what would be the reasoning for them doing the drill 8 minutes before the actual event occurred? Just for convenience of having crisis actors there, or what?
Because they have no respect for us, and I can't blame them. I mean, if you look at it, how have we been behaving? Absolute brain dead, if you ask me. I mean, they carried out the same scenario, the same theme, over and over and over and over and over and over. I'm stuck here, and over and over, and still we're buying it. I mean, it's like sometimes I feel like my brain is melting, because it's like, how many times do people like myself and other researchers need to spell it out, show exactly how it was carried out, and then it happens 2 days later and people say, that is shocking. It's happened again. I don't know. So I think that they have very little respect for us, and that because they can do what they used to be able to do whatever they want. I mean, look at 9/11. Look at all of these things. They're still around, the people that carried it out. No, they're not. Nobody is serving time for it. I mean, a lot of people have been identified. Inside job. Boom, you were in. So, but nobody's serving time. We're still walking around playing with our iPhones and happy days, even though we're talking mass murder, and that these people are there in the background controlling our lives. I would suggest would be a good idea to sort of wake up, smell the coffee, and see what's going on. Who carried it out? Instead of being so focused on arguing, for instance, when 9/11, how was it done? Say that, okay, it was done, but who did it and why, and what are they up to now? Because these players are still around big time and pushing this brutal death machine that is just being forced on top of us, and we're still like, yeah, but X Factor and yeah, but I think that I think it was mini nukes. Well, I think it was controlled demolition. Well, I think it was directed anti-weapon. I tell you, I can more or less guarantee you what it was. It was a combination of the whole shebang. They used everything to get these buildings down. They could not fail. I mean, could you imagine, like, boom, and then half the tower just got stuck, or like this, and then we get into the building and find explosives everywhere, and mini nukes and nanotechnology. inside, it's a no-no. When you pull something like that up, you have to make sure to succeed. That's why you heard multiple explosions before the so-called planes hit them. Then the planes, then even afterwards, the explosions were there, boom, 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 boom. And when they went down, and mini nukes and directed energy weapons. Otherwise, how could they be dustified? What else? What type of technology can dustify steel, concrete, but will leave paper and aluminum and rubber? It's Farmer Brown logic. Something very strange went down. And this technology is now being used in all of these California fires, where directed energy weapons are the ones lighting this whole crap.
Really?
And with latest, you go to Lockheed Martin's homepage, and they're bragging about the technology. And we're like, how could it happen? How is it possible? Well, study, read, learn, and it's in your face.
What do you mean by they're bragging about the technology? What are they saying?
Go to Lockheed Martin's website and check it out. It was even on Fox News like a week before the California fires. They were showing here, this new laser technology is here. We can hit 5 different mobile drones at the same time. They can burn holes straight through the engine block of a car, stop it midway. It's totally silent. You cannot hear it. You cannot see it. There's no need for ammo. As long as it's charged, it can just go on. You can start fires. You can start all of these things, all in the name of security. It's a fantastic weapon to be used against the enemy. But who is the enemy? That's the question. And I believe that we, the normal people, are the enemies to these dark forces.
Yeah. So you're saying that the California fires were on purpose. Can you expand on that a little bit? Like what's the reasoning behind that?
It's not only California. It's in Greece. It's in Portugal. It's in Sweden. Let me see other areas at the moment. Certain areas in China. What they do, it's all in Agenda 21. How to depopulate certain areas, push people into the cities where they can be controlled, get the whole highway system so that it's focused on transporting people between the main cities. That is the whole thing. They want people in the city areas, so-called smart cities. That's the idea, where everything is digitalized, everything can be controlled digitally, and so on, where everything, your toilet, your fridge, your everything will coordinate and work together with your pacemaker, whatever will be connected to this grid. And through 5G, which is a very horrendous militarized technology, very, very different to 2G, 3G, 4G. It's a whole new ball game. And once we get in there, boy, terrifying.
I've heard a couple of people talk briefly on the 5G theory.
Oh, God.
Could you give a rundown of that?
Do you want to hear about
just briefly? I mean, there's so many different areas that we could go. So you choose.
Okay, so the fires, you'll see what happens is that first these areas are being chemtrailed heavily for months. So they go super dry. And also there's so much aluminum on the ground, in the grass, everything, which makes it super easy to light. Then you have, mostly at nighttime, these fires are ignited, and you can see film footage where you suddenly see like there's a light beam coming from above, boom, boom. But you have to go frame by frame to see it. You will see that the fires are laser-like. The precision is laser-like. It's like it can go right through half a building, and the other half of the building is untouched. It's like chopped like this. You will see that many areas, it's just the building. The buildings have been pulverized. There's nothing left. Cars have been melted. I mean, the wheels, it's just melted. You can see the aluminum is running down the road. It's totally different to normal fires. You will see trees, if they are on fire, because most of the time It's not forest fires and so on. It's buildings, especially in California. It's different in Sweden and so on. But sometimes the trees are burning from the inside out. The inside of the tree is melting. It's like, it's totally unnatural. For instance, in Sweden here, where I think Sweden is really being hammered at the moment, where most people in Sweden have absolutely no idea. They're well asleep, lullaby time, and so on. But there's more than they've been chemtrailed for years, heavily. And then these fires. Now, at one point, I don't know at this exact moment, but just a week or so ago, there were more than 80 forest fires going on in Sweden. Unheard of. It's like not even close. And you have like, I think maybe 2/3 of Sweden is forest. I mean, this country is 2,000 kilometers from it's like if you take from the south of Sweden and you take the length of the country and go south, it's all the way down to Rome. It's a massive country with a very small population where I had to grow up. But such a big area of that is forest. And with these fires, and it came to a point, it's problem, reaction, solution. Please keep that in mind and see it being played out on the news in front of your eyes, because that's how they do it nowadays. They know that they can lose you, that you would go to the next channel, and so they need to deliver. So they will interview somebody on location. The eyewitness that is part of the operation would say, "Oh, it was so horrible, to get the emotional reaction. Women and children were lying with no heads, and there was blood everywhere. People were running, awful." So you go in your home like, "Oh my God, Maggie, did you hear that? That's awful." That's the reaction, okay? And then the reporter, who's totally in on the operation, will serve you the solution. Super important. You can see it being played out in front of your eyes. Please be aware and look at the next time this happened. So the reporter will say, "Well, this just calls for an anti-gun, this, or this type of weapon needs to." Now it's laser sight with this gaming thing in Jacksonville. Now I think they're going to aim at laser sights as well. That was why he was using laser sights. That's to use it, and then also they're saying, "Oh, now this whole gaming industry is being so big. Now we need more securities, like in arenas or theaters. In come the body scanners and backscatters. They want them in on arena and then on train stations. They're expanding this whole thing. Soon it will be libraries and your local supermarket. And when you go home, you will have to go through a body scanner before you go to bed. I mean, they're pushing it. And you will see the same people, the manufacturers of these technologies are the same people as behind the terror acts as well. So, but also you will see that according to Agenda 21, which is an agenda, the New World Order agenda, that's more than 100 countries have signed, and there's Agenda 30 as well. It's the exact areas that they wanted to depopulate, to take over, and also push people away. This is where these forest fires are happening. There's no logic, like if you look at the California fires, if you have one fire and due to wind and so on, it could spread to a nearby area. That is how a fire spreads. It goes like this. Sometimes they try to stop it, but the winds and so on. That's how a fire spreads. But here, fire, and at the same time. So I was just saying this problem, reaction, solution. So in Sweden, the firefighters, or the chief of the firefighters, he said, "Well, it's beyond our control. The only solution can only come from above." And he went like this. And then the next program was about cloud seeding, on how through geoengineering that you could get the clouds to rain on command. In comes chemtrails as a solution. Do you see how it's played?
Right.
Doom, doom, doom. And we're saying, that's fantastic. Rain, make it rain. Thank you. Save us. And by the way, then you can just continue with the chemtrailing and we will applaud them. Look, the firefighters are here. Fantastic. I'm not
Right.
feeling too good and I have this awful cough, but at least the fire's out.
Right.
I'm sorry if I ramble on, but
No, you're fine.
After the Charlie Hebdo shooting, I mean, we had two brothers, Palestinian, they say, with Palestinian background, that got pissed off and went into this newspaper edition and shot all of these people. That's the official story. Okay. So you would think that, okay, what could that be? A problem, you shoot journalists and people that draw cartoons, the same theme that had been used in multiple other operations, identical, the Copenhagen shooting and other ones, this that they were making drawings of Muhammad, you know. Okay, that was the one. Yeah. So then you have the reporter. So what happened? Oh, it was horrible. They went into the newspaper and they shot all the people. Oh, that's awful. Okay, the reaction. And then the reporter said, well, that just shows that we need more airport security. What had anything in Paris got to do with airport security?
Right.
You go to the airport in Paris now, I've been there. It's unreal, the level. I even spoke to the head of security. He was so proud. He showed us all of these cameras, I mean, millions and millions spent on that security. I ask you also, how many so-called terrorists have they arrested thanks to this technology?
Right.
Number is very close to zero. But they need more. And another one, the mass shooting in Norway, where almost 60 young kids are said to have been killed by this guy that dressed like a police officer. They left him alone for 1 hour on this island, walking around, just killing them for 1 hour because they couldn't get. It's incredible. I've done a presentation called "When Terror Struck Norway." It's like watching Monty Python. You cannot believe it. Because it was meant to happen. They kept everything in the background on standby until the whole thing was carried out because it was an inside job. So the head of the secret police in Norway, what she said after this mass shooting, she said, it really is a tragedy. They always look like they're meant it. And by the way, this would not have happened had they been microchipped. Did you see how slip that one in?
Not too subtle.
Not too subtle, but when you're emotionally like, oh my God, that's all of these women and microchip, boom. So it's like watching a baseball game, you know, and open up and up with the ball. Are you ready? And pow, just hit it in there. Then wait for the next time when they, okay, and hit it in there. Boom. That's how the game is played. Wow. So I try to, by showing the templates that we have I've given you a few tasters of the template that are being used. By showing the template, I hope my intention is to break the spell of fear, that people start seeing that, hang on. I know that one. I've seen it before. That is, you know, so that instead of you just reacting, you take a step back and you say, oh, before I'm going to react, I'm going to take a deep breath. Maybe I'm going to take a little walk, listen to some music. Then I'll come back when I calm down and I listen again. What exactly is it I'm being told here? And who benefits from me believing it? And it's often in your face. Do you know, like this gamer shooting that just happened yesterday in Jacksonville? Listen to it. For one of the things, if you got time, I just wanted to mention the shoes and bikes as well, because they're triggers. But in it, also, the reporter says, we'll be back in an hour for more programming. And you're welcome back at 6 o'clock for more programming. That is the wording, the exact wording. What are they saying? They're saying exactly what's going on. Sometimes, like in the San Bernardino shooting, they were talking about actors inside the car. The actor is still in the car. saying it, but we are in this spell, this sort of like that most people don't hear it.
Yeah.
And it's always almost like they're throwing it at us. Wake up now. Yeah, but wake up now. But what about now?
Right.
Okay, so the shoes
Yeah.
and bicycles. For many years, I've been looking into these alleged attacks. I've been, like I said, on location, shit scary many times, police, military everywhere. Very scary, especially when you start understanding that they're actually the ones who carried it out, not the patsy. So one of the things, I had perfect order in all my stuff. I got like 2.8 terabyte of perfectly systematic, categorized evidence, whatever, on all different cases, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, which you can also access through my website, Light on Conspiracies, if you sign up for it. Anyway, so over the years, I started bumping into trainers, especially Nike trainers, that just were lying around. And it's like, I don't get it. You know, if somebody's shooting at you with an AR-15, would you sit down first, take off your shoes, and then run?
Right.
When somebody is trying to hit you with a truck, would you say, please, Mr. Truck Driver, can you just hold on for a second, take off your shoes, put them in a strategic position inside the crime scene, and then run for it?
Right.
Or get hit once your shoes are off.
Yeah, so, it doesn't seem like it's that normal for people who are running away from something to lose their shoes. Seems like that would take some effort.
Dan, I'm not making this up. I'm just like, for a long time, I thought, there's another shoe, and there's another shoe.
Yeah, after you were on the show the last time, there was the truck incident in New York, and I started seeing the things that you were talking about, the bicycles, the shoes, and the bicycles looking like they hadn't been touched, just laying there on the side of the road. So it's crazy.
So the shoes, the more I found them, the more I started saying that this is not normal. And also they're lying inside the crime scene, meaning it's not people from the outside that have thrown them in there or just put them there as decoration. Absolutely not. If they're inside a cordon-off area where police are, you cannot contaminate a crime scene. That is major, so they must be there for a reason. And so I had a folder called shoes, and I just kept finding all of these and put them there. And then I was contacted by an insider one time that said, I was talking for years about them. I thought they were there sort of like as a business card for people in the know, because it's sort of like this invisible communication that can be done through symbolism. Sure. For people, the same how you can sit on an island in Bahamas, in South Africa, New York, whatever, and just by, if you know what signs to look for, our operation, that is our guy, and so on. So one guy contacted me and said, these shoes are not just business cards, they're also Freemasonic symbols, because in the Freemasonic rituals, and also the other cultures as well, but especially in the Freemasonic rituals, one shoe off means that this person is doing it voluntarily. Also, they often pull up one trouser leg. Two shoes off means that this person, that is homage for the sacred space where the ritual is carried out, because they see these things as rituals. It's very connected into Freemasonic, satanic, Zionistic, very bizarre areas where you get into once you start following these. So there were also the color coding of these operations, doing the exact same thing. Our operation, so in the US, you will have deep purple is the current color for the last few years. In Europe, it's more to a more magenta type of color. But in the US, you will see the hero with a very deep purple T-shirt on, or pants, or the hair of the girl standing next to the witness being interviewed, or the tie of the person at the press conference, the color code. So back to the issue. So I started finding out more and more, and then I started seeing that these shoes have been used at least from the Holocaust and onwards. It was in the Holocaust, I think, the first time when shoes were being used as this image of horror. You saw these big mountains of shoes of people killed in the death camps. So that was it. And then the more I looked, I found similar images from the Vietnam War, the war in Korea, the Six-Day War, the Balkan War, the shoes. And then in all of these mass shootings, I mean, the shoes are all over, and it's almost always Nike shoes. So here comes, that is a bit of we were talking about different companies. Nike, big time. Ask Nike, what the hell are you up to? And also, when it comes to brands, Toyota, you show me one image of ISIS or one filmed clip with ISIS and there's a vehicle in it, it would be a Toyota. I swear to you, it would be a Toyota. And anyway, so good question to ask Toyota. Why the hell are you doing this if ISIS is the biggest threat ever to the human race? And somebody did it. They heard my show. They contacted Toyota and asked, what are you up to? Toyota said, no, we never sold a car to ISIS, but we have sold a lot to the US State Department, the exact vehicles that then ends up with ISIS. Meaning, and it's not a breaking news thing, ISIS, it's a absolutely controlled, created boogeyman by the US, by the Israeli, funded by Saudi, because they need an outer enemy to do bad stuff so that they can protect us. Anyway, so the shoes. Then Cody Snodgrass that you had on, I believe, he and I was doing a show together, and then he suddenly came and gave it a whole new level with these shoes, because he said he knows a lot about MKUltra. I think he's been part of breaking down people into becoming assets and so on. And what they do is people are put through absolute hell. They're being tortured, tormented, raped, abused, you name it, to break down your personality, your inner self, into multiple personalities. That's the whole idea, to break you up, because when the pain is too intense, this personality just said, well, I'm out of here, bye-bye, and boom, suddenly a second personality is created. And then that personality, if you do it in the right way, the way they do it, can be triggered to be activated. And the way they trigger these to swap between personalities, where they can be controlled as an asset, to become a patsy or an assassin or whatever. The way they do that is through symbols, through words, can be a song and something like that. But the symbol is very important as a trigger. They need a trigger. And so if, for instance, somebody would be tortured over and over and over and over again to accomplish this, and at the same time, every single time they would hold up the same type of symbol in front of that individual. It could be like two swimming dolphins, an upside down pair, whatever, as long as it's the same symbol. And so what Cody suggested, and I think he's spot on, was that these shoes have been put there every single time we have a traumatic experience of a violent thing or something that is connected to death. They just put the shoe there because it needs to be a neutral, daily type of item that is just there. So we won't suspect anything. If, for instance, if it was a pink umbrella and we saw thousands of pink umbrellas, after a while we would say, there's a lot of pink umbrellas around, aren't there? But when it comes to shoes, they're just there. So he thinks that the shoe is a global mind control trigger for mass control, a fear mass control, where the shoe is the one doing it. And now when you see, I mean, I've seen so many examples now, for instance, shooting outside a nightclub in Baltimore. And the only photo is of a Nike trainer. Drive-by shooting by gangs. The only image, not from the crime scene, nothing else, the shoe. The Las Vegas shooting in the New York Times, a trainer and some blood. It's just all over the place. Charlottesville filled with shoes, the Columbine mass shooting, and also when you go into other areas, many of these, and you can just do like a Google image search. I've done many interviews like that, so just search for the soulless shoes of death, or the shoe of death.
Mm-hmm.
These presentations, I have like PowerPoints I go through. It's incredible. I think I'm up to 38 different countries where exact similar images have been used. And it's been used, from mass shootings to alleged terror attacks to wars, but also virus scares. If you write conspiracy theory, the image first that comes up is a dog with a shoe in his mouth. Many different weird criminal cases where the shoes are in the background. Yeah. Suicides in Australia, in New Zealand, the Golden Gate suicides in San Francisco. There are these symbols of thousands of shoes. The whole anti-gun thing now is outside the Capitol, 14,000 shoes being there. The Iraq War, the shoes there in cemeteries with the obelisk in the background, very subtle.
Right.
But gang rape, domestic violence, missing people, rape victims, all kinds of things. Also, these radioactive things, global warming, the different hurricanes. Every time there's one of these hurricanes, boom, the shoe's there. Boom, the shoe's there. 9/11, and so on. So I would suggest the shoe is not there by coincidence. It is there as a trigger, so that the next time you see something, boom, the shoe is there. Also, Cody says that if there's something violent, blood, or most of us look the other way, and then our eyes will look at something else more neutral. Boom, there's the shoe. So you get a double hit, like boom, boom. Mm-hmm. And when you wake up in the morning, what is one of the first things you put on? The shoes. So you get back into the fear mode. But it's not only the shoes, but it can also be the lack of shoes. For instance, at the Texas church shooting, they said that the guy that ran out and jumped into a stranger's car, and they chased the shooter down, and he killed him, hero. Mm-hmm. He ran out bare feet. They put such emphasis on this bare feet thing. Mm-hmm. Recently, there was this bridge collapse in Italy, not totally blown up, surgically precision, just like the I-85 in Georgia, totally sabotage thing. What was in the news? People came running off the bridge bare feet. You have
Why? Why were they on the bridge bare feet?
Why would you leave your shoes when you're trying to? Right. I mean, I walk bare feet most of the time, but most people don't. Right. They look like tender feet, like it's like they're not very good at running on gravel or whatever. Mm-hmm. They would keep the shoes on. Yeah. You have now the recent Jacksonville shooting. What is it said? One of the people that escaped, he was so desperate that he ran without his shoes. They mentioned the shoes. Mm-hmm. CNN, when they interviewed victims at the Las Vegas, eyewitnesses, and so what happened to you? And this guy says, well, I lost my shoe. And the cameraman goes down, film the foot without the shoe. Who cares about shoes? Right. There's mass murder around the corner. Who cares if you lost a shoe? But it's there to trigger. It's there to trigger. So the more of us that have become aware of these shoes, and I have bombarded it out there, it seems like now it's a transition because they're trying to avoid the shoes because it's becoming too obvious. So now what they did is they transcended, or they did a transition into bicycles, because that's another neutral thing. So now, just like you mentioned in Manhattan, the bicycles. In the Nice truck attack, bicycles. In the the recent one, the car attack at the Parliament in London, 12 bicycles, and then you see like CNN footage, BBC footage, RT footage, different angles. You will see the journalist is standing there talking, or you see police car in the background, and bicycles. Okay, that is not uncommon in central London. There are bicycles, but they're standing inside a corner of area, and you will see it's the same people on the bicycles. So the same guy in the background, and then on CNN, same guy, and same guy. You have to start seeing these things to become aware of them. And so these the bicycles, you have very recently George Bush Sr.'s heart surgeon is said to have been killed in a drive-by shooting. So how did that happen? Well, he was on his bicycle, and the shooter was on a bicycle as well, the perfect getaway vehicle. Right. So he even turned around, followed him, shot him dead from the bicycle, and then left on the bicycle. The bicycles.
So do you think that the bicycles are just like a new trigger type thing, like the shoes were, or what?
Yeah, they first they only needed the shoes. Then we're becoming aware of it. And that is, I think it's a massive breakthrough because it's on a global scale. In so many different countries, they've been able to use this for decades. Now we're becoming aware, saying, hang on, instead of fear, these shoes are starting to make people laugh. I'm getting emails from all over the place, and people are laughing. Another shoe. I get them from all over the place. You know, alleged air crashes and airplane crashes and train crashes. What's there? A shoe right in the middle. A bombing here, yes, and a Nike trainer. It's like it's becoming a joke. Right. So it doesn't work anymore. So I think due to this, they're trying to persuade us but they can't do it sort of like, if they just start with bicycles, it won't have the effect because our subconscious mind, if you just see a bicycle, it's like, yeah, that's nice. But so you need to have a transition period where you have gruesome violence, shoes that will trigger it, and in the background, a bicycle. And now you have all of these alleged stabbings in the UK. And so the photographers, I used to work as a photographer as well for newspapers. I mean, if I'm sent to a crime scene and I come home with photos of a bicycle, okay, if the killer was on the bicycle, if it had anything to do with a crime, fair enough. But here, it's just bicycles. They're just bicycles.
Yeah. So
be aware of them and see how often they occur. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. And you've been more than generous with your time and everything, and I find it all very fascinating. Would you be willing to do a little bit of bonus? Because I want to touch on the 5G stuff, but I want to do it for maybe our patrons who subscribe to the show, if you're willing.
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Ole, thank you so much for being here. It's been absolutely wonderful, as it always is, and you're always welcome on the show. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find out all the information about you and your podcast, everything that you got going on.
People can find me on Light on Conspiracies, plural, lightonconspiracies.com. That's my main website. It's a website that I and my little team are putting extreme effort into because we are trying to make it sort of like a one stop where you can get information from all different kinds of areas, but hopefully very trustworthy information and so on. So, and it's working out really well. We're getting a lot of really nice feedback. And also I'm doing 3 to 5 interviews per week. So all of them are being put up there as well. I've got my membership area with lots of special stuff in there. I got a newsletter, which is one of the ways also that I can finance myself. Because when you do this type of stuff, if you're a pedophile and an abuser and totally corrupt and manipulated and are just following orders, you will be paid lots of money. If you try standing up against these dark forces, they will try to destroy you. So not easy making a living and taking care of a family at the same time. In this newspaper, I want to say that I predicted 15 of these false flags up to date, up to 2 months before they actually happen, due to the fact that they secretly leave hidden clues in our face about upcoming events. I was not aware of that years ago. I am now, and that has helped me to start learning the language. And my last name, Dammegard, has actually now become a verb in many areas where people are Dammegarding, trying to find these clues about upcoming events. So in my newsletter, you can also compare, this is what I predicted, and boom, this is what happened. So you can see sometimes up to 2 months before, where I point out the exact location, more or less. That could be the next one, that could be and then when it happens. So I'm on Patreon as well. Donations, it's extremely appreciated. And I say, if I'm successful in stopping these, I know that I personally stopped at least 2 of these major ones. I can do a whole show about one of them outside the Bilderberg meeting 2014, which I think is a really fascinating event that was stopped. If you ever want to we could do a whole show about that one.
Absolutely.
But if you want this madness to stop, then please support researchers that you respect, support people that you feel are making a difference, because most of us are on our knees. We're just it's not easy, especially if you want to try and be on location as well.
Right.
So please back whoever you respect. Let your money talk in that respect, and whoever gets it, fantastic. If anything comes to me, I'm extremely grateful. I'm also on Patreon, and I do a weekly, almost a daily, I call them daylights, Ole's daylights, where I go through what is currently going on, but also I try to empower people. I was given the Peace Prize in Prague 2016, and so on. My focus is not just to dig around in all this black crap, but to find a solution. My focus is peace, harmony, compassion, balance, equality for everyone. And so I do everything I can to lift people in these daylights as well. And I do between 4 and 7 per week. So that's on Patreon as well. So with that said, I try also to show that even if you're just one man or one person, you can make a difference. I'm just a hillbilly, out of nowhere with no background, no financing, no nothing. But I know that I've reached millions. So it's worth it.
Yeah, and I applaud you for all the work that you do. Far more than I have done or probably ever will do. But Ole, great work. Keep up the great work. And thank you so much for coming on the show again, and look forward to having you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with the great Ole Dammegard as much as I did, and always do and always will, I suspect, because Ole is a great guest. He's very gracious with his time. He's a very busy guy, but he always makes the time to be on this show and give you guys more time than he even signs up for, because he's just got all this knowledge going through his brain. He's just trying to get it out there. He's just a fascinating individual, and I love picking his brain, and I'm very much looking forward to having him on again. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to be doing another episode soon on the JFK assassination. That is sure to be one that is fascinating, that you're not going to want to miss. And to keep from missing it, go subscribe to the show on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever your podcast feed, whatever platform you're on. Go subscribe to the show. And if you are on Apple Music or iTunes or whatever you want to call it, be sure to leave us a nice review, a nice 5-star review, so other people know what they're getting into with this show. It's a free way to help get this show into more eyes and ears. Anyway, and if you would like the extended interview that I did with Ole, where we got into some of the 5G stuff, I know he said, when I asked him in the interview if he could give us some extra time, He said 10 minutes. You should know that it's more than 10 minutes because once Ole starts talking, man, the stuff just flows. And we ended up getting into the 5G stuff. We talked about Donald Trump and, some of the Q conspiracy stuff where Q is saying that Donald Trump is kind of the savior to all, but Ole doesn't seem to agree with that. I don't know where I stand on it, but I trust Ole more than I do some anonymous source at the moment. So, go check that out at the Downers Club. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm just getting totally sidetracked here. But yeah, the Downers Club. Go sign up for the Downers Club. Help this show keep getting bigger and better and get a bunch of bonus audio and video content for yourself by going to patreon.com/The System Is Down. Also, can't even talk. Gotta slow down. Also, be sure to tune into the AntiNews live tonight. It is the new show that we're doing on The System Is Down. It is a live broadcast of where Craig and I just cover things that are going on in the world, and we do so in our own dark and twisted comedic way. That broadcast live every Monday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. That's when it starts. That's when we do the pre-show, and the official show starts at 11 o'clock. Get it? Yep. Tomorrow's 9/11. And, we're going to have a good one tonight because, of course, we're going to be talking about some 9/11 stuff. So be sure to tune into that. To make sure you don't miss it, either go to antinewslive.com or you can go to tsidpod.com/forum and join the System Is Down forum. The forum is the place where all the weirdos come together collectively and just share strange ideas and their takes on what is happening in the world. We have a lot of differing opinions. We've got Christians and atheists and maybe some Buddhists and who knows. There's nothing that's off the table. We've got Democrats. We've got hardcore leftists. We've one or two. We've got right-wingers and a lot of libertarians and stuff like that. All thoughts are welcome, but it is a place where we don't bicker. We don't get defensive. We don't hold too tightly to our views. We don't name call or do the things that Facebook is known for. So again, go join that at Facebook. No, not Facebook. At The System Is Down. No, at tsidpod.com/forum. And all these links, since I can't even say them, you can find them down in the show notes and the show description. Anyway, as you're going through your week, be sure to like, share, subscribe on all the platforms, all the things that millennials do at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the like. And again, subscribe to the show and leave us a review on iTunes. That would be great. I would appreciate it. And as you are walking around this week, pondering what life is and why we're here and the meaning of it all, if you pass somebody on the street that you haven't seen since high school, who was, not somebody that you were necessarily friends with, not necessarily somebody that you would want to or intend to keep up with, say hi. Have a chat with them. That's something that I've been finding out recently. I mean, it's common sense. Of course, it's the case. It's logical that they're not the same people that they were back in high school, but it seems like people have a tendency to hold on to their opinions of what people were when they were like 15 years old. We were all douchebags when we were 15 years old. Talk to somebody, and I'm an extreme introvert. I know it might not show on the show. It might not be very apparent because of what I do here, but I don't like to talk to most people, but I'm finding the value in it, and especially talking to people that I still had bad tastes in my mouth from high school about. We've all been beaten down by the system. We've all gone through the same crap. We're all still trying to figure out life. So you don't have to knock on somebody's door, but if you see somebody on the street that you don't necessarily like for whatever reason in your head, talk to them because they're a different person now. We all are. Guarantee it. And if they're still douchebags, then whatever. Second chance, but maybe last chance. I'm not saying, love that person forever and ever, but give people second chances because we're all humans. We're all in this together. Anyway, that's my motivational speech for the day. I hope it does something for you. I hope it does something for them. Give humanity a chance. I know when you look at things that are going on in the news, it's hard to give anybody the benefit of the doubt in assuming that they're not all insane, because there's so much insanity going on. But try it. Try. Individuals are okay. People on the whole, they're crazy. And if you want to hear about some of the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, AntiNewsLive.com. Tune into the show tonight. That's enough from me for today. Blah, blah, blah. I've rambled on for way too long here. So, yeah, I'll see you guys all next week. If you'll have me, I'll be right back here nestled safely into your ears with some more uncomfortable content first thing next Monday morning. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, please question everything. Stay uncomfortable. I'll talk to you then. This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.